in the Supreme Court, then all of these other things are just a given. And everybody says, oh, that's crazy, it'll never happen. But legally, it's just a given. It's just part of the disintegration.
Yeah.
I was going to close this portion by having us each think about and maybe discuss where we are in our own personal or in our family's education, and if it's where we need to be. And this is, again, guilt is not allowed in my house. So that is not what we're talking about. And I was actually preparing with everyone in our group in mind, which would give us a more of a broad spectrum of educational approaches. As it is, we're pretty homogenous in this particular group. And yet I think it's a question we can all ask ourselves from time to time. Where are we in our own personal education? Am I focusing on my mission? Am I going broad enough? Am I going too broad? Am I going deep enough? Am I going too deep here? Should I? And I think that's a constant thing. I was just in the shower today getting stressed out about, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And okay, am I spreading myself too thin? Am I trying to learn too much about too many things? And that's a hard thing to figure out. The passion is not lacking for me. The desire to learn is there. But what when you choose, obviously we need to choose which thing, because choosing one thing means you're choosing not these other things, and it's hard to figure out which thing to choose. And so I'm not going to go into that so much, but keep in mind, as you already do, where you are and where you should be. And I want to hear what you have to say, Kathleen.
What do you mean by should be?
Should be if you want to be figuring out what your mission is and doing it.
Right.
That's what I mean. We're not allowed to say should in our house unless we follow it up with if. I should go to the store today if I want enough groceries to make dinner. Because otherwise should makes guilt to me.
If I want a happy husband.
Yes.
I should go to the bathroom if I don't want to mess.
Thanks, Matt.
That's very basic.
The point is, every statement you make, if it's a I should, I must, need, anything like that, if you follow it with an if, you gain more freedom.
And it puts it in more perspective.
You take control of the choice rather than being an automatic and guilting yourself and not even thinking about what you're choosing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow. So Kathleen, can you tell us, and Paul, I don't know who's going to do what.
I did not bring a newspaper article that summarized the bills from the legislature. I'm on the board of Utah Eagle Forum, and I have had more involvement in the past, and I taught public school for about 5 years because I'm a teacher of the deaf, and that's kind of where the kids are. But I've been on a sabbatical, can we call it that, for a couple of years. And so, yes, kind of had some health things to work with. But so I got away from working with Utah Eagle Forum because in the past I had the opportunity of being the one that called the people and got them up there to the Capitol to watch the proceedings. And what they do is, I don't know if either of you are familiar with what they do, but it's a group of men and women, but the leadership is mostly women because they have more time than the men. That monitors all the family-related issues, family and constitutional issues that come on bills that come through the legislature.
So that includes education.
So it includes education.
Constitutional, that includes everything.
Yeah.
Except we're going to have a day to celebrate ice cream.
Almost a few like that. And so it's a really dynamic process. There are hundreds of committee meetings to cover. And they cover them all year round because when the legislature is not in session, they have an interim meeting every once a month, and then there are all these committees to cover. And so, to be involved with that is really intense experience, but it gives you such appreciation for the work that legislators go through to be. They have to be wiser than all of us on the issues. They have to know hundreds of issues better than the general public, or they couldn't make a wise decision.
To be discerning.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And
But
they
you
don't.
you also
wording.
learn that that's an impossibility,
Yeah.
because they're doing
Right.
too much. So they overload themselves and they're not able to have, so they depend on each other a lot.
Well,
And make deals
and
and
I've
do
learned
things,
too
but-
that their aides are invaluable to them
Yeah,
if they're
definitely.
doing their jobs
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
and if they have the same political
Yeah.
ideas that
Yeah.
that the representative does.
So that's what I participated in the past, and the people that are in leadership, Gail Ruzicka and Karen Clark, Mary Ann Christensen, those three of the women that really have all the issues nailed. They read the bills in detail with a fine-tooth comb, and something that will seem such a good intention bill will have something really, really ugly in it. And so this legislative session, I fulfilled that role again. In the past, I've been up there in some of the meetings. This time, I did it all from my home. But so I was not the issues person. So I can't tell you all these bills that came down and which should have and which shouldn't have been passed. But there are a couple that I participated in that were a big concern to us. The one that I did the most with was Senate Bill 71.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened with that bill.
Well, it's dead for now.
Yay!
For now, but it'll
That's the
come
one
up.
I told you about, Bonnie. Do you
About the
remember?
preschool.
Preschool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's on President Obama's agenda to have a universal preschool that is
Big shock.
certainly voluntary initially, but
Except that
we'll-
doesn't work with the Utah Constitution.
Yeah. So, I participated with that by just giving some, it's kind of something I worked with when I was in the school system, when they were trying to have the school I was in, move to having all-day preschool and starting with little 3-year-olds. So we had a little boy that was just past 2, he just had his birthday, and he got put on a van, the bus to our school. It was like 6:45 in the morning, and he didn't see his mother again until 5 o'clock in the evening, almost 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening, and he wept the whole day. The little husky, chubby little boy. He looked like he was 4 or 5 because he had just barely turned 3, So that actually was one of the reasons I left teaching, because I could see the trend that they were going to insist that these little children be in school. And just for my studies, because I'm a neurodevelopment specialist too, I know that school can wait, right?
Thank you. Better late than
And
early,
better
right?
late than early, that's right. Enough said on that topic.
Yes, ma'am.
For my whole opinion about how this preschool bill should go. So one of the big challenges with it, though, was that there was an investor. There were 2 investors. Did you hear about this?
I just knew the bill was for private money.
2 investors would invest $10 million, and the one investor would reveal who they were, and the other investor was an investor that wouldn't reveal who they were until after the bill passed. There's a red flag right there, But the one that did reveal who they were was Goldman Sachs. So I'm thinking, I don't want Goldman Sachs to have too much to do with Utah education, because you kind of know where they're connected way up there.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of ugly things about the bill. The problem is that the children that they were targeting are children that are largely low income and non-English speakers. So, it was
They already have-
well-intentioned. Let's
Well, but
get
they already
us a
have
3.
benefits, right? They already have preschools that they can attend. All of those children already have Head Start and all
Well,
those things that are.
See, that's another issue too. Head Start is a total failure. In fact, that's some of the data that we used.
Thank you.
We used
We
to
don't
say
want
that-
more of that,
Yeah.
right?
But the problem still remains that you have these little kids that don't speak English, and so they want to start them at the primary language learning level, which is what Matt and
Oh,
Bonnie
got it.
do, in those
Right.
early years. Nevertheless, we have to weigh learning English against learning family forms and the emotional development, and they need to learn a language and the logical and concept building that you have by having a set language at those ages. And then you can put them in, they could do an intensive 1st and 2nd grade English immersion, mixed with Spanish, and so. So that's one of the issues that's yet to be solved. So the
That
bill,
is interesting. My husband's work is English as a second language.
really,
Yeah. So he, yeah. And he
And
was
he
an
wants-
administrator in a public school.
really,
He was the director of language and cultural services in the inner city school district for Oklahoma City.